Welcome everyone to the 306th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. Somehow January 11th, I guess.
Ooh.
I don't know. Time doesn't have a meaning anymore.
Never did.
As you can hear, we got a small horde of people, or might have heard. I don't know. We got Allie.
Hello, it is me. I am here.
There might be some fluff appearing in the background from CPC. We got Len, who I believe is going to appear back in a bit. We got a Pixie Knop.
Hello.
We got a Vex.
Hello.
We got a Zai.
I'll be fluffing in the foreground.
Lots of people.
Alrighty.
All right, there's going to be a fluff battle apparently between Lex and CPC. Let's see how this goes down.
And Living
Fluff-
Yeah.
Everyone fight Vex.
No.
That's a buff Ren.
Yeah. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're out of space because there's a buff horse just muscling for room there. So if you're looking to have your art critiqued, my suggestion would be go back a week, critique another picture, and that'll take the space out to put your picture in.
There's time travel and alter the time stream.
Problem solved.
What is the actual number of today's stream again? I missed it.
306.
306.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot. We have a lot of streams.
Yeah. All right, so let's kick this off. First picture is going to be by Red Panda 13R. It's top left-hand corner. MLP/FNAF security breach.
Good old FNAF.
No questions, no comments, no concerns, I guess.
I guess that's it. Moving on.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. Good stuff.
Looks good. Done.
I guess jokes aside, one of the first things a critique we can give is if you're submitting something for critique, please feel free to ask questions. Like, why are you submitting it for critique? Is there something you struggled with? Something you want to improve at? Let us know. That way we can have a better conversation with you.
It helps a lot.
Because without questions, we just have to guess.
Everyone's obsessed with this game at the moment. A friend in one of my other groups won't stop talking about it.
A new game just came out. It's
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I just don't want to go near horror games. Except for this. This is cute art. So that's good. If all horror games can be cute art and not scary at all, then great.
Well, I think you'll find that they do both.
No scare, only cute.
So this Pinky bot, the Pinky Cat bot, looks great to me. I'll do minor changes to just pay attention to how the curls and fluff works. Hey, resident fluffers, I was wondering if you might have a moment to just apply a little fluff to that Pinky Cat in the top left-hand corner. Generally, you want to have it follow the hair. Hair tends to follow gravity because, hey, it pulls it down. That would be real nice if my hair on the top of the head would agree. I'm looking at you, little alfalfa strands. But generally, it goes on down. It follows the rest of the flow of the hair that hangs there. So things like those spikes would just be like, just flip them, and then the little strands that curl off the mane are just fine. They're good. They're cute. I would add a bit more variety because it's the same hook 3 times down, and that's the only thing that pops out. So if you're to switch direction and add a bit of overlap on the side of the head with some of those hooks, that'd be great. Just switching things up. See someone doing pony that is sitting down.
We're all attempting the same pose. Well, it's different takes on the same pose.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're just messing about. If you want, with this horse and this horse, you can make the hair floof up a little bit. It can take up a little bit more space.
Yeah, add some volume.
Exactly.
So
I
how
think
I
the
was
main
interpreting
thing.
the oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
you go.
Okay.
No, you.
The main thing I think a lot of us are focusing on is kind of like the arm and leg anatomy. Right now there's a lot of curves going on, but the thing is, I know they're animatronics, but even in this series, and of course you don't have to follow it to the T, there's bones, right? There's metal bits that hold it together. They may be able to bend, but they're not like the noodly robot arms we can see in other kind of fictional robots. So even if they're sitting, we can still see the joint. We need to see like the joints bending. Let me get a different color. Something's
Mm.
showing up. So here, come on, work with me. Okay, so here we can see the legs mostly feel like they're just bending. There's no kind of uh hinge for the limbs to move on. So if we can just avoid having it swoop as a curve, instead have them feel like they're coming out from each other. They're connected to each other. It's like a singular hinge. Like if I draw a leg, there'll be like a little robot hinge there for the bones to attach to.
Mm.
And then another straight bone will hold it into place and we can get like the next part of the limb. So it's just something to keep in mind that we don't get our bones too
Mhm.
bendy, too
Mm.
wiggly.
Yeah. And like the perspective in general sort of isn't really showing them the legs in the right way. Like they're sort of coming off to the side at a very uncomfortable looking angle. And again, they're robot, not human. They can break whatever rules they want. But
Mhm.
if we want it to be sort of a believable pose, you've got to sort of treat it like a human, or at least whatever creature it's closest to. In this situation, we draw ponies as cats all the time. Uh, I like this sort of impression down here. What I was doing up here is a bit of an alternate, where it's like if this character here is looking around or trying to sort of like, oh no, there's some danger happening over here. They're trying to be wary of that. I was thinking of having them. I should have just drawn this against the grade picture instead of a random invisible line or whatever. Um, they're just looking around the corner like oh no, like hold on a second. They're like kneeling down to sort of be at the level of the kid, and be able to protect them, and also sort of make themselves a lower profile and just facing away from the camera, as from our viewpoint, as the body would be turned as well to make that a bit more comfortable, and they're just sort of like keeping an eye. I feel like that'd be a bit more of a natural pose and create more of a sort of story that's going on, if that makes sense, rather than the characters sort of just being in the picture. You want them to kind of feel like they're moving through the scene, like something happened before, something's happening after. We're just sort of at like a frozen point in the middle. And sort of thinking about how the pose tells what the character is in the middle of doing is an important thing, but also can be very fun to work on. So it's always worth just sort of thinking about the context. Imagine the scene playing out. Maybe think about how like an animator would draw it happening in a cartoon or something.
Mm. Oh yeah.
You always look at references
It's
like character peering around corner or something.
yeah. Just Bing. Honestly, open up Bing. Person leaning around corner. Done. Bunch of references. But it's good. It's good to see him messing with colors and just experimenting and seeing what happens, because that's part of the really fun thing about art. So keep on having fun with it.
Hmm. This is a really creative concept.
Mm.
Crossovers are really fun. I love when people do them.
Oh yeah.
All right, shall we move on to our next lovely horse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's my mouse. Come on, mouse.
What do
Yeah.
you want a CPC for?
You give her a cookie.
More fluff. Yeah. So this one is by Dora Explora. Ara R, please critique I rush the shading.
This character's like, "Where's my tea, Josephine?"
Mm.
That says to me anyway.
It looks good. I like this shoulder.
Like the face is more like
Very
this,
nice, sort of like posing.
I think. But yeah, right in the money there. This the way the clothes the leg is coming in and then back out the same seam of the clothes. Does that make sense? Is this like a weird like shawl type thing that I'm not like familiar with? Because I feel like
I
if you moved your arm, it would fall down immediately.
think they're going for the Marilyn Monroe sort of dress flying up.
Oh, maybe I
Because
could see that.
it looks like a
Uh,
skirt of some sort. They got like the little shoulder straps going on here,
yeah,
and
I
it goes
wasn't sure if
down.
they had. I wasn't sure if this was like a sort of fluffy thing, sort of wrapped around, and then they're sort of like holding over the shoulders. But I could see it being a dress blowing up.
If we're to
Um,
have a bit
hmm.
more of an indicator of that being like a full dress in the same place, it might be a bit easier to make sense of that. And I think part of the issue is just how the fabric curls and just becomes a blob on the left side. Like if we're to see part of the bottom of the hem or a bit more indication that it's, cut fabric, but it's still sort of floating about, it might be a lot easier.
Mm.
It's a difficult thing to sort of pull off, but it can work. I know. I would look at some references for that too.
In general, I like the shading. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, sometimes simplistic works. It's. I mean, I was literally just seeing like a TikTok on like art advice from like cartoons, and it's like one of them was like, don't spend too much time on the shading, just make it simple. It can work, so there's no worry about like rushing it. If it's something that like stresses you out, if you take too much time, then don't worry about it. The fact you did any shading is absolutely great.
Yeah, throw shading in the bin. Shading is only useful
It
insofar as it illustrates the form, and in general,
oh
around
yeah,
most of the
and that is
picture,
quite helpful to go
and
as well.
in most of the picture, it illustrates the form all good. I think
I
the
I
the things.
I always like whenever I draw a picture, I draw like the I do the sketch, do the lines, do the colors, and then there's like a roadblock where my brain is like, I don't want to go any further than this. It looks fine. I don't feel like I have to spend all the effort shading. It looks fine, and then like. And I'm like, I used to be like, okay, I'll do it, and I start and I tuck away, and eventually, I'm done before I know it. Like, okay, cool, I've done the shading, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that looks absolutely fabulous. It's like I'm so glad I did it. It's 100% worth it. I can't believe I considered not doing it. It looks way better now. And that was always the pattern every single time because the shading always made it look way better. But there was always that roadblock of like, oh, it looks fine. I don't want to because like shading sucks. And so, like, eventually I just like stopped doing it because I don't know, I'm just lazy and afraid of effort, I guess. And I've been trying to sort of try and convince myself to do it again lately because I feel like I need to be able to. Sometimes it's good but it depends on the picture. Sometimes doing a very light amount of shading is what you need. Sometimes doing none at all. Sometimes doing like really detailed, amazing shading, or somewhere in between those.
Mm,
And I think for this one it works because it's quite a sort of like a loose, relaxed sort of style. The lines are very sort of flowy and like natural feeling, and I feel like not going too heavy in the shading is good.
mm. I'm just messing with that sort of
Hmm.
idea that was talked about earlier. Having like a bit of a hem here or some whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what's needed. Yeah, I couldn't figure out why it wasn't looking right. That's exactly right. Having it come up on the bottom.
Yep, illustrating the form. Good.
Yeah.
That's this area around here was getting a little bit difficult to sort of work out, but something like that, and some deliberately darker shading inside, like darker than this tone,
Yeah.
darker than this
Yeah.
tone.
That's always
Help show.
such a simple thing to do and works so well. You can use it for a lot of things. Like if I can switch colors, yes. So if I were to take like red, but like take like a darker red and like and have the program actually let me draw. Okay, there we go. And illustrate like just sort of fade part of the main darker a bit under the face or other areas where the hair sort of disappears into. It could be just sort of like a little gradient, but sometimes it looks very nice. Particularly when you have like, I use it like drastically with Rarity and with Fluttershy. With Fluttershy, I do it like in her main where like the loop over is. I'll make the under bit slightly dark, and with Rarities, I do it inside the curls and everything, and it just makes it look so much more dynamic. But inside of clothes is like hugely important for it as well. Sometimes the back leg of a standing pony character as well. Like I mean, like the sort of the in like further away legs can sometimes be like shaded. I think they do it in the show, don't they?
I don't remember.
I'm not quite sure, but it
So
does look nice.
up here with the horn and all that sort of stuff, what they've done is they've taken like the sort of the base of the chin sort of stuff and drawn like a line through the middle of the face, and then start the horn roughly there and have it like going out from like a similar kind of a direction. So if you like look at the middle of the head, middle of the head is probably like roughly like around about here, and it's like that's coming out in the direction of like where the head would be in that space. Kind of sort of thing. There are all sorts of techniques that you can use to do this sort of stuff. Good job with the hoof. That looks great. I love it. It's so fun to see the loose, sketchy style that you have and all that kind of sort of stuff.
Hmm. I enjoy the tilts going on. Like you have the shoulders tilting like this and the head tilting like that. Just makes it, I don't know, it just gives a lot of life and fluid movement.
Plus that hoof going like that and
Yeah.
boom, boom. Yeah. The thing with these ears, why that's being sort of moved down there, is it like kind of reinforces the
Mm,
tilt of the head and all that.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on to our next lovely horse?
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Please submit more stuff to us and ask some questions because we really like your stuff. Looks
Hell
good.
yeah.
All right, our next one is by Big Map Whopper Humber, and it is She's Alive! Background, not mine.
Pretty.
Very cute. I love the attempt to have a very sort of dynamic, fun pose. It's very lively.
Mm. What can be very interesting, you've got both of these front hooves doing the same thing, and both of these back hooves doing the same thing. What can be really useful is have these both of these front hooves sort of do the same thing. Have one of the back hooves do this, and then have the other back hooves sort of stick out or do some other different kind of pose or something like that. Just to add a little bit of visual variety and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And also because they're horses, they're probably going to want to have like at least one hoof like sticking out, so they have like you know uh, uh, I don't know what's it called, balance, so they won't fall over and stuff like that.
Yeah, balance.
Good
Yeah.
center of gravity.
Magic.
Magic gravity.
If they can grab things with their hooves by magic, they can stand and balance by gravity too, or by magic too.
Yes. I mean, I feel like the Pegasi flying is also there as well.
It's a very common style to do eye over hair. I'm not going to comment on the fact that it's overlapped. It's interesting the boxiness that you've done with the pupil without carrying it over to the rest of the eye shape.
Mm.
I would definitely increase the size of that eyebrow that you've given her. Just do a bit more noticeable.
With the ear, can be a good thing to like push this bump in to basically make the ear its own like separate shape, and that's really good. The really cool thing about like all of the hair up here in the back of the head and all that is that you can totally use that to like create whatever sorts of shapes that you want, and it's all good. But yeah, good drawing. You can see everyone doing their draw overs and all that stuff.
He is moments away from leaping on that bed, though. Just saying.
I almost want to push the pose more. Like, if I could pull out a reference, like how Cadence and Twilight do their little like dance with each other, and they get real low to the ground, with their butts up high to do the little shake. It just gives more like the whole idea of like the spring coiling in before it's about to let loose and just like sprung.
Hell yeah.
Sound might sell that
Yeah.
one.
Look at that.
Beauty,
Look at
beauty. CPC at it again.
Dang artists being at it with the good poses. Whenever I'm like messing with poses, I like going on YouTube and then looking up, cats playing, puppies playing, lions playing, and then just like pausing it now and then because you can get some like really interesting dynamic poses from that sort of stuff that are just like pushed more and yeah.
And like the kind of thing I find interesting about poses, like the one being drawn in light blue there, is that like despite the legs being practically in the same kind of position, because the body is so dynamic, it kind of fits that they're the things that has less going on with them. I don't know. It's like that balance between the two, where if your body's just standing, it's more interesting to have legs doing different stuff, or if your body's doing the crazy thing, sometimes it makes more sense for the legs to be the not the attention grabber. I don't know. Random thoughts.
Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah. The cool thing is, if you want to, the background isn't as important as sort of the character, and so if you want to, you can just like you can do some like random painting over of the background or do whatever you want there to sort of mess with it, or you can just not care and leave it all alone. That's fine. I like messing with different bits of the picture, seeing what I can play with. Dang good picture.
Hmm.
You can see the cool, interesting pose that's being done there. Very, very different take on the picture between that one and that one. But both really exciting.
All right, shall we move on to our next
This is
one?
wonderful poses. I am just concerned about the placement of that blue one and where they're looking, but otherwise, very good poses.
Hell yeah, let's
But yeah,
move on.
let's move on.
All right, we got another horse. This one is by
Sad
AOE
face.
Cyber Tiger. An unfinished drawing of my OC Silver Moon. I want to put a griffin at the entrance of the cave, but I'm having a hard time scaling them so they would look like they fit there. Any suggestions?
Right.
I don't know, but
When
I love
when
I
I'm
you're
love the
assuming
eyes and expression you've
this
got.
here is the entrance of the cave, because
I'm
it's a little
assuming,
difficult to
Yeah.
see.
So
and like looking out
they
to
do
the
say in the
foreground. Yeah.
comments it didn't really transfer over, but there is a faint ghost of an image back there of where they were thinking the griffin should be. So you can kind of see a few marks there. Yeah.
Just lost in the scan. I see.
Yeah.
and when you're looking to do like scale stuff, having a bit of like a grid on the ground can be useful. So like, you know, start off from like there or something like that. then you can have like the grid like coming out.
What do griffins look like? I haven't drawn a griffin before.
And you
Just a
can
gremlin with a beak.
can confirm. And you can use that to sort of try to plan out kind of how big your this character whatever is compared to whatever character in the background or whatever. One way of doing stuff, but definitely not the only way.
Yeah, the one thing you can rely on with perspective is usually humans are really good when you have something to compare to. So in this instance, we have the pony and the griffin, right? And we have a general idea of what size they are, unless you're trying to portray like some ginormous gargantuan griffin or like a really tiny one. We're gonna assume they're about normal size, so they're about the same size of each other. So something we can use to compare distance with is maybe based off the size of their head. So if I go ahead and draw the circle for the head here, we know that that griffin's head back here is going to need to be much smaller to show the depth. So you can, if you want, Text made me laugh. If you want, you can kind of lightly sketch circles getting smaller or kind of eyeball how far away you want it to feel. But using that kind of point to determine the size difference, something it can be compared to. And even if you want to add, like this grass over here, right? This is really tiny grass. So maybe this tiny grass should be closer to the pony, and we can have like these little guys here, these little ridges closer to the griffin to again sell that depth, that, the distance between them. Just two little things to play with when you're wanting to plan out a scene in perspective. Just always remember the human eye loves to compare, and if we have things we can compare to, it's going to sell the perspective even more.
The closer something is to the camera, the bigger it's going to be. In this case, this pony, you could probably shrink them down a little bit, or whatever, but it's all good. I think at this point, worrying about like how big things are with perspective exactly and all that sort of stuff is not going to be the most useful stuff. The most useful thing for you is probably going to be worrying about this big green one in the background, and also just keeping your art fun. Have fun with your art. Keep sketching, keep playing with stuff. Reference other animals for inspiration and all that kind of stuff. You're doing good.
To draw griffins. I'm sorry, I tried.
It's
Be
beautiful.
be very afraid of that green one though.
Yeah.
They just would be friend.
Oh my god. I just zoomed out.
Friend, yeah. Maybe that's why she's crying. She saw the green one and she was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna get eaten."
Oh no.
Is hierarchy in Griffin society dictated by like just how big you are?
I feel like it's which one's just like the meanest and pushiest. I could totally imagine a funny scenario where it's like someone like really tiny, like a tiny girl, but they're like super mean and everyone's scared to say no to them. They just become the leader.
Yeah. Well, they have wings, don't they? There you go. Hide all that bad anatomy back there.
No, it's good.
It's all hiding the best anatomy.
Muscle, just like a muscle bound mad griffin.
Yeah.
They don't have muscles. They have beaks. You silly. I think that's the point where she can move on.
Let's move to our next lovely horse.
Woohoo!
Heck
Great
yeah.
stuff.
Good
Can't
picture.
wait to see more.
Yeah.
Also, props to traditional and using a good sketchbook.
Mm.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Traditional and a good sketchbook. Weird.
And
This
a good
is
sketch.
this is by
It's beautiful.
Starsung Dusk, and it's Angry
Mhm.
Starsung Dusk. Did
Oh,
another
yeah.
piece tonight utilizing some excellent feedback from my last post. Used some softer pencils for the shading and defined a specific light source. Much more dynamic values. I think I really enjoyed the expression and energy in this piece. Angry Starsung is angry. Credits to Orion Superman. Excellent critique and advice on shading. Critique is
I love
requested
it.
for shading, especially on how I can achieve better values. How dark should the darkest be? Thanks for looking. These are the types of people we really like. People who ask direct questions. You win points.
mm-hmm.
What I will say, great job with this mouth, especially like this bump in back here. Looks great. Looks amazing. This hoof, this back hoof, you can move that back. You can push that back a little bit further. So like back here, like yeah, just move that back a little bit. Because if you're looking at them from like top down, you've got like the head there, the whatever. They've got their one hoof over here, one hoof like being pushed out here, and then this one will probably be like somewhere backish, like back there, to sort of balance things. Because horses are weird and they balance on 3 and 4 legs, so making that a bit more of a triangle instead of a bit of a straight line would sort of just help with the balance. But it's a small thing. I think in terms of values, it's pretty good. The tail gets pretty dark down here. You could use like that same kind of value in certain bits of the hair, like up here and all that sort of stuff, because that would get pretty dark as well. Something that can help you in terms of placing shadows is to look at kind of what's going on here with these clearly marked out defined regions. So your final shading doesn't need to be this, but while you're trying to practice and learn shading, doing this kind of hard shading, like almost cell shading, can help you in terms of placing shadows. So, but yeah, no, it looks good. I like it.
I think I have one of the critiques I have in regards to the face. I really do love it. I love that you got the indents for the teeth and stuff. Someone drew over it. And I agree. I wouldn't have the teeth going in on each other so harshly, just because if you think about teeth, it wouldn't be. They'd have the little bump from the lip, like you'd see them clearly, inside the lip, but they wouldn't quite be facing inside the mouth. That think about like your own teeth and how they'd be angled inward. So it's super nitpicky, like it's great stuff, but super nitpicky. The other thing is just giving a little bit more of a chin, like a little outward chin. Even a mare will have just a little curve right underneath the teeth. You have a curve
Little.
underneath here, but just like towards the front. It needs just a little more space to exist, I think.
Yeah. You can see that we've drawn and redrawn the horn about 1,200 times. And
Yeah, it can be tricky.
the horn is always really weird. The most important thing is to look at, so you've got the space sort of between, right, let me go back even further. You've got sort of this space that is sort of the front of the muzzle. If you take it back, you've got like roughly like this space between the eyes. And if you take that up, the center line is going to be roughly somewhere like that. Somewhere along this sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's where I
So
put the blue line.
yeah, usually like anywhere along that center line works. Like, you can have this, you can have it like in the similar kind of location that you have, but you need to make sure that that is the center of the horn.
Mhm. Typically, if you place where the eyes are, it's going to be sort of just between the eyes. I mean, it's a bit too big, but yeah, it's always helpful to keep in mind, because obviously as pony's frowning, their eyes are a bit smaller than they are normally, or at least it looks to me like they're frowning. So the horn's going to be somewhere in the center between them. If you imagine them having like a third eye, like not quite above the eyes, or it could be. It depends on the angle. You could also stand to move this a bit further up like this if you wanted to. It depends. There's different options. The darker blue is where I would have placed it myself, but yeah, so somewhere like just around the top of the between the eyes. And the rule of thumb, if we haven't mentioned already, is that the horn typically goes at a 45-degree angle from the center of the head. It's easier to work out when it's side on, because you can just do this. So okay, boom, that's where the horn goes. But it's harder at an angle, a fancy angle like this. But it can be done. You just got to sort of break down where your character is positioned, how everything's supposed to sort of be placed. It might take some fiddling and experimentations. Like the horn is definitely a thing that you're gonna sometimes have to like draw over and over again and move and adjust. So it's just worth playing with until it looks right.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, like because it's like on the face and so close to like where the eyes are and all that kind of stuff. It's like, moving it a couple of millimeters this way or a couple of millimeters this way can like really affect how it looks and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not something to stress about. It's all good. No big dramas.
Shall we move on to our next horse?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Keep submitting stuff to us and asking questions, and yeah, feel free to jump into our Discord sometime because you're a good artist.
They're actually in
and
the
we
Discord
like
all the
helping.
time.
Oh yeah, my bad. I don't remember people by name or by art or by anything.
There's
That's
so
all
many
right.
good
I
art.
think they
Hard
only
to keep
joined
track.
up like a month ago too.
There's too many good artists.
Too many. Yeah, it's hard to keep track.
All right. Our next one is by Limey18, and it's Lime is Here. We got no questions or comments.
You can see our first comment, Lonk Nons. I don't know what that means. But
Hans.
Oh, horns. Like horn Hans.
Yeah, I read it
Longhorn. Yeah.
as Longhorns,
Long.
like Longhorn.
Long
But
horns. Oh,
I
holy shit, I feel old.
I read the actual intent.
Oh, long
Oh,
horse.
horse.
that
I see.
they are surprised at how beautiful the horn looks.
No
This is really-
antlers.
Yep. And antlers are a must within this group.
But I love how cute this character is. You've got a wonderful style. I
Nice
think the
bit of
first thing that jumps out
gradient.
to me. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I love that. I can't really do like I don't know if this is pencil or watercolor, but it could be either and it looks beautiful.
Yeah, the gradients are quite lovely.
Yeah,
It
I
could be crayon, I think.
yeah, it could be whatever you've done it well. The first thing that
The
stands out to me is that the pose, well, it's nice, is very static. The character doesn't feel like they're standing in a very natural, relaxed sort of way. So I'm just doing some doodling as to how it might look a bit more natural, a bit more sort of relaxed.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
We're
green.
as a note, we can be pretty nitpicky sometimes, so feel free to take our advice, not take it.
Yeah, we're not
You're doing
experts.
good drawing stuff. Yeah, exactly.
We very much appreciate the drawing you have, and it's wonderful. And we hope
Hell
that
yeah.
you do more. This it's all just our opinions as to what might look nice.
Exactly. You can see all the different people messing about with poses and playing, especially like with that foreleg, the front leg there. It's really interesting and fun. There's so much fun stuff you can do with it.
You don't have to do the hooves in the way that I do them. I love my hoof shape. They're really fun to do.
Agree. Yeah.
But yeah, just placing the legs in a bit more of a sort of loose way. I really like to spread out the sort of back legs to to just not have them like all sort of starkly placed together. Just making them feel a bit lighter on their moves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Twist the neck a little bit. They can still be looking in this direction, but they're turning the head, so there's going to be some bend to the neck.
If I might point you to doing something, use
And
more
a
of your
boop. They
canvas.
need a
Don't be afraid of drawing big. Drawing big is great because it means things like these little fluffy bits that are sticking off the side of the face. They're a lot easier to draw when you don't have to try and cram them in what appears to be a third of a line of lined paper, which pretty small. That's what, that centimeter-ish, under a centimeter.
I
But
know that our line paper is pretty small.
if we get bigger, suddenly it goes from being a little boop boop and trying to hope for the best and going to wah wah.
Yeah.
You get a lot more
you want
detail.
yourself all the room for being creative. You
And
definitely okay for drawing big.
yeah, I know that when I started drawing bigger, I was like, oh no, it's but it's all good.
It's easier to make mistakes and
like so long as you're having fun with it,
hmm
drawing big can only help you out because you have more control to sort of draw everything with and all that kind of sort of thing.
feel like we
Definitely.
need to have like a regular like sort of Bob Ross style drawing stream where we're just all drawing together, but we're just like, yeah, drawing fun. Let's just relax. Let's just have fun.
Heck yeah. Yeah, definitely keep chucking stuff our way. It's always fun to see the drawing that people do, and this drawing is cute and looks
Yes.
good.
It is a cutie patootie. They need a boop. They need a cookie, a fluffy scarf, and to achieve their dreams.
You can see the amazing sketch over the best sketch I've
So
ever seen
good.
in my life.
So good.
Shall we move on to our next lovely horse?
Heck
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
All right. So our last one submitted this week is by Suborgan.
Hey, good
Oh
old friend.
yeah.
Whoa, this is amazing.
I love it.
It's very cool.
It's so cool.
Great.
Yay.
We're done.
You've beaten us.
So their
Yeah,
title
you
is Doing
graduated.
Another Action Scene. Do special effects distract? Maybe black out of the foreground could increase the depth of the scene. That is their title. They're just getting right to the point, asking questions and thinking out loud in the title.
You know what I appreciate?
You
I can
are our
respect it.
favorite.
Forwardness.
We
I-
can't have favorites, but you're our favorite.
I like that. This effect
Yeah,
down
that's
here
so
with the
cool.
eyes.
Yeah, like the little glowy effects, and it's like a subtle little thing, but it's so it works so well. It's nice. It's lovely. I love like metal things and robotic things.
Can't really tell if it's because of the scale of this image or not, but I see a lot of these like little pixelated areas all throughout the image, and I think that might be a brush issue,
Yeah,
or
it shows up in multiple spots, and I saw what you're saying earlier, and I had to re-download the image because I thought it was broken.
yeah, so just watch out for that. Sometimes brushes, when they're meant to be used in very like small, precise things, if you blow them up, they get really pixelated. So I'd
Yeah.
suggest if you're gonna do something like this again, just keep an eye out for that and try to use a
What
different
brush
brush
would you
that's
use? 'Cause it-
meant for
Yeah,
something like
If-
that.
I wonder what sort of texture you were trying to use with this brush.
And
I don't
if
really see anything like that.
you're if this is a an intentional kind of a thing, then what you'd probably want to reinforce it with, there are like glitchy brushes that, like, for example, when you like draw like that, it'll add like little tiny squares on either side and do all that kind of sort of like digital sort of stuff. So if these areas are like intentionally this kind of texture, try reinforcing it with some other of those kinds of like glitchy, pixely brush shapes and stuff.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what program you have, but I have a brush said I found on the Clip Studio assets for like futuristic and tech sort of brushes, and it could be really fun for you to play around with if you want to. It's good.
So, as I'm staring at this, what's popping into my head right now is I've probably mentioned this guy before, but there is a YouTube thing called a YouTube series called Marco Bucci. 10 minutes. 10 minutes to better painting. And what it is it's a bunch of videos that are each 10 minutes long, and they focus on a different aspect of just painting in general, like, composition, hard versus soft versus lost edges, different topics of like composition and organizing your picture and doing all that sorts of stuff. I think that video series would probably be really helpful to you where you are right now, because I think in terms of getting stuff down on the page, playing around with poses and trying to get stuff interesting and all that kind of stuff, and messing with effects and colors, it all looks good. It looks great. It's just polished stuff that I think could be polished stuff and sort of shape and composition stuff that could be interesting to sort of work out. And I think that those videos are really good at sort of explaining how to go through that stuff. So that's what I would recommend, because in general it looks good, looking pretty good.
I very much love your work. I have to restate that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun to see all of the experimentation you're doing, and with the sort of effect around there, and all of these spaces and messing about with everything. It looks good. Looks great.
All right. So I believe that's it for pictures today that have been submitted, at least. So if anyone else has any other questions, any other comments, now's your chance. We don't have space for other pictures, but as I said, you could retroactively go back in time, critique some of these, and then we can make space for yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have a comment. I just noticed CPC's name is CP open bracket. Creative.
Go ahead.
Oh, and I've become X at I. What has happened to our names?
Pigs, did you go around graffitiing names?
Wait, I'll write it how I used to when I was a role player on Bebo. Hold on.
Drawing that
There we go.
bird thing down at the bottom, but it's adorable. Anyway, seeing as that's it and no other questions, we'll be calling it a day. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.